Grant John, congratulations. That song is hinged on jealousy and its impact on society. He actually says somewhere that even in the church it is even more dangerous, right? In the army, police, and so on, no sector of our society is safe. Now he is with us, of course. He comes to us from the Solutions Temple that's based in Bonaberry, right here in Douala, from where we're airing. And he's also known as Le Commandant de Minuit. That's funny, right? In some ways, if you consider that that tag is for a man of God. Pastor Chris Vuwesi, it's such a pleasure to have you among us once again. It's Friday. You're always here on Friday.
Yes, it's always a pleasure for me to be here because we release some words that go to build our nation and make the place a better place.
We've had a lot of positive feedback from all of your interventions so far, and you come to us because we're not going to stay in the church for this edition. We're going to move out because if you probably want to recall, the government has deployed several missions abroad in the search for solutions to the flaring Anglophone crisis. It has released a couple of detainees. It has relocated the French-speaking magistrates from English-speaking Cameroon. It has translated the OHADA law. It has created the National Commission for Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, created another one for disarmament and reinsertion or reintegration, if you don't mind. But then, all of these measures are failing to find a solution to the crisis, and that's why you're here.
Yes,
Pastor.
I believe we don't only have to stay in the church. In fact, the reason we're in church is to influence the world. And coming here is always a good platform to be able to say some things which we actually need to hear and we need to work on.
Okay. You know, we had a couple of men of God the other day. That was our edition on Wednesday, and they said pastors and men of God in general should not indulge in politics.
I think they are myopic in their views.
All right.
And I think they are wrong because men of God are spiritual illuminants. They carry the light that the society needs. And we don't need, the Bible says you cannot light a lamp and put it under the table. You need to put it on the table so that it can generate light in every corner of the house. So if we are light bearers, we're not supposed to be hiding within the four walls. Yeah. We need to come out to and face our society with the words that actually are needed to build it.
And that light ensures transparency. You cannot have good governance without transparency.
Yeah, you cannot have good governance without transparency. See, and that's why we are actually out to be able to talk and see how the nation can be a better place. So when you hear a man of God saying that men of God should not be indulged in politics, anytime you pray and even say that God bless our nation, you're somehow evolving into politics. Right. And if you pray and say, oh, God bless our head of state, give him wisdom and all that, you are still part of the system.
Okay.
Politics is what? Being concerned with the governance of the city.
Okay. Okay, now let's just get serious, Pastor, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And let's talk about attempts at resolving the Anglophone crisis. Some say the government is naive. Another school of thought will insist that the government is intentionally myopic in proposing genuine pathways towards resolving the crisis.
I wouldn't say the government
is that an opinion you hold?
I wouldn't say the government is naive. Rather, I'll say the government is not sincere and they are not humble.
But I give you a long list of measures.
They are not sincere, they are not humble. Because if you look at the measures they have been proposing, it's not been working. But they know what they are supposed to do, but they are intentionally dishonest. Because if you've been doing something over and over, this thing started about 2 or 3 years ago.
We're getting close to 2
and they have been doing a lot of things to make it work, and somehow nothing is working. If you have been doing and it's not working, it is a call for you to change the strategy or change the formula. But you see that they are still on their old paths, and as such, the solution is far-fetched. The government is not humble. Humility is not stupidity.
Okay.
When you're humble, there are a lot of things that can be arranged just by being humble. Somebody can tell you this thing is wrong. Humility will make you go down and look at what the person is saying, and you could see some aspects of truth in what the person is saying which needs adjustment.
In other
But
words,
refusing to admit that is arrogance and pride. It's not humility.
I was just going to use that word you used now, arrogance.
Yeah.
Is the government arrogant?
Of course.
But the same government is creating all of these commissions. It has released the likes of
remember when this
from
thing
detention.
started. Remember when this thing started. Look at the arrogance with which one of the ministers said, when the lawyers will get tired, they will go back to work. When they will get hungry,
and
they'll get back. They'll get back to work. And one said, "Vous allez faire quoi?" You get it? That's arrogance. A humble government, when there is a challenge, will not be arrogant, humble, sit with the people who are actually who are actually saying that there is a problem, and try to see how to handle the problem.
Okay.
And sometimes humility means we sit on the same level and talk, but the government is not doing that. They are sitting on the high table and issuing decrees and then giving instructions, and that cannot handle this problem.
Some say in a football field, you don't tell your opponent what to do, because we're actually like in the competition now. There's going to be...
Of course, right now, the guns are speaking in the field.
Okay.
And they are not speaking from one side. All the sides are shooting. So we've gotten ourselves into a serious mess.
But then this is the government position, and from that angle, you may probably want to understand why, quote unquote, the arrogance is playing out. The government says it is not going to speak to people, in fact terrorists, who are keen on amputating a part of the nation. It is not going to sit on the same dialogue table with them. I'm quoting former Communication Minister Issa Chiruma.
Okay.
That's why the government probably will not come down to the same level to talk with
what I want to say is, we all know who the former minister was. From history, he was to be executed some years back. And somehow, I don't know the maneuvers involved, he was forgiven and pardoned. He was not shot or executed. So if that kind of man who had experienced, who had almost died, can be speaking like that, you see that where the arrogance is.
Okay.
Do unto others what you want them to do to you.
Unto you.
Yeah. So I think if they pardoned, if he was forgiven, then anybody is forgivable.
Okay.
If you call them terrorists and you don't want to dialogue with them, then you're not ready for the solution. What if the terrorists get empowered tomorrow more? Because we're playing with time, and as we're playing with time, the other side too is also getting empowered every day.
Okay.
And can you imagine if the other side gets sophisticated weapons, like what the military has? The game is going to change.
Okay.
It's going to be a serious war, and when we play with time, it can happen.
Right.
You know, when this thing started and people were with leaves on the streets, some of the politicians who were very smart said, please don't push things to this dimension because this thing can radicalize. Nobody believed that it could happen until it happened.
And over time, we've seen a step-by-step metamorphosis.
The thing is changing gradually. Now, the guys are having the local stuffs which they are using to operate. We're seeing it on Facebook and all that.
The
Odeshis and then their Dane guns they are using to operate. What will happen if tomorrow, by any means, because the government is not omnipresent or omniscience to be able to know all what is happening at once, no matter their level of intelligence. Even the intelligence of America failed in September 11.
Okay.
Meaning that the intelligence of any country can fail. And what happens if guns come in through a way that they don't master?
Okay.
And these guys hold those sophisticated weapons, meaning that the game is now on an equal platform. Okay. You can shoot and then they can shoot too.
All right.
Because and it will be a very difficult war.
Okay, Pastor, I'm going to ask you this. It's a bit tricky. A couple of people have been blaming the continuation of the crisis, especially the increasing radicalization of the so-called separatists, on people remote controlling the struggle from the diaspora. I'm looking at the USA in particular and parts of Europe in general. Can any genuine dialogue be envisioned without involving the people in the diaspora?
No.
Well, they are known. They are called the Tatos Eric, they are called the Mark Barretas, they are called the Tapang Ivors, the Anu Christophers, and so on.
What I have seen and observed over time is that these people in the diaspora are very important, but they are not indispensable. There are times that they like sometimes they get confused and they begin to fight themselves in the diaspora.
We've seen that
but
happen
the
a
guys
couple
here on ground are still continuing with what they believe in. The truth is that this thing is too complicated. It is in a way that you cannot tell who actually is controlling what.
Okay.
If it looks like there's a group of people who understand what they want, and if you come up as a leader and they see that you've taken the wrong step, the group of people can easily dismiss you
out
even if you don't accept your dismissal.
Okay.
But somehow popularly you have been dismissed and you're no more having the support of the people.
Okay.
So this thing is complicated, but everybody involved is important.
Okay.
We cannot ignore anybody involved in this.
So I mean,
matter.
everybody needs to come to that
Yeah,
table.
everybody that is a key player needs to be part of this dialogue. We cannot ignore these people.
Okay. Pastor, apart from the abductions, the kidnappings, and ransom seeking across the northwest and southwest regions, we've had tales of money changing hands between those in the diaspora, those on the quote-unquote ground zero,
Yeah.
and so on. There's not supposed to be any end in sight, because if people keep on making money from the crisis, they will not want to see it end.
Yeah, it's not only from the people in the diaspora, money changing hands with the people fighting. Yeah. Even government officials, some of the people like the gendarmes now and the police, they're actually eating fat from this issue. Because people are bailed with huge sums of money.
Okay.
You are arrested if they find you in a very compromising position. When the position you look suspicious, you dress in the kind of way that you look suspicious, you are already a candidate of arrest. And when you are arrested, you know what happens. Money must change hands before you are released.
All right.
If we were not having this kind of tense atmosphere, we will not have that happening.
Okay.
So it is a truth that that many people are eating fat from this struggle, and they won't want it to end.
Okay.
Those who are controlling the budget, involved in the military, of course, it's an opportunity.
That's a delicate statement to make, Pastor, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's hear you out.
Yeah, those who are in the position of budget in Cameroon, we all know that they are not really, most of them are not born again. if not,
their hands are not necessarily clean,
and their hands are not necessarily clean.
The budgets that they are entitled to run.
Yes, because if you look at the prison alone, full with ministers, or I'm short of every ministry, and these are people who have been handling budget, is to tell you that there are still many thieves who have not been caught.
Okay.
Who are handling money.
Right.
And if we know our country very well, when every time somebody is appointed, there's celebration. If you ask yourself, why that celebration? Because you are giving much work and you are celebrating. It means that you know very well that somehow money must be entering your pocket.
That's a jackpot.
That is the reason for celebration.
Okay.
Normally, when somebody is appointed, he should be even praying and saying, "Oh God, help me. Give me the strength and the capacity to be able to take up this task." Right. You are celebrating your family, and you spend money and celebrate because you know that much money will come after that.
Okay. Gradually, we're getting out of our discussion, unfortunately, because it's so interesting. Pastor, can you expect a real solution to the crisis to come from private initiatives like this recently hatched movement called the Northwest and Southwest Peace Movement? It's actually headed by a man of God, Prophet Franklin Defoe, who was candidate at the last presidential election in Cameroon in October 2018.
Yeah.
Can it work?
Because he's a man of God, I believe that God has the solution to this challenge. It can work, but I think we need to be able to understand that the solution to this challenge lies in a duty. There is a man, the president of Cameroon, President Pobia. He is the one who has the solution to this crisis.
How so?
If he can take the right decision, then there will be the right reaction. It is said that for every action there is
an opposite
reaction.
Right.
We live in a cause and effect war. The right causes the right effect. So I think he is the one who can take some decisions right now,
for example,
which can create sincere, for instance, release those who are in jail.
Those who were
imported
from Nigeria?
Yeah, even them.
Okay.
When you release them, there's going to be a lot of celebration. And even why can they not be invited to the Unity Palace for an hour, for a discussion that will not actually, the media may not actually be invited to?
Yeah, because we always have angles and anything could happen after such conflict.
They can discuss and see one or two things.
Okay.
I heard there was a time that, I don't know the country, that somebody was taken from prison to discuss with an authority. And it yielded results.
Okay.
So I think that there are a lot of things that can happen if the president takes some initiative to bring peace.
Okay, we're going to hear from Cardinal Christian Wigan Tumi, the Emeritus Archbishop of Douala, in which he explains the imminent holding of the long-awaited Anglophone General Conference. And before then, I just wanted to ask you, because I asked you about the Northwest and Southwest Peace Movement headed by the Prophet. Now, this one, used to have the likes of Munzu in there. He actually backpedaled because of threats to his life. Now, the likes of the Cardinal are the forefront of this movement. Do you think the AGC could bring a solution to the crisis?
I don't think so.
They've deployed people to talk to the separatist leaders in the diaspora?
I don't think so. They are limited. They tried to even hold just their meeting. We're not talking of solution yet. Just to come together has been very difficult for them.
Okay.
So if it's difficult for you to take the first step, how do you think you're going to take the other steps to get to where you want to go to? So I think it's like they are actually struggling to do their own contribution so that history can say at least they did something. I think that's the reason for some of these commissions, that we were not passive in the days of oppression.
Okay.
Because passivity in this moment of oppression makes you part of the oppressors. So somehow they are just distinguishing themselves to say that we actually took a step to say that let this thing stop, so that history should not blame us. You know, like Pontius Pilate, who washed his hands and said, the blood of this man is not on my head.
Very definitely said in that. Eli Smith, who is the spokesperson for the conveners, is going to be feeling very uncomfortable when he hears you make that declaration. The Cardinal, of course, is not going to be sitting comfortably in his seat.
The Cardinal is a good man, a man that I respect so much. It's somebody that I love from the Catholic milieu. But I'm just being objective on what they are trying to do.
Of course, yeah, you were very objective.
Yeah.
You know, when simple meetings begin to fail, how does the solution come? We will hear from the Cardinal, of course. Lambert Kevin, that's our Kumbo-based correspondent who spoke to the Cardinal. He's actually in the building. He will be telling us the challenges of reporting from those conflict-plagued parts of Cameroon. Ashu Richard is supposed to be with us to discuss why the prices of basic commodities, well, if beer is a basic commodity, it has witnessed a hike in price. Rice is next on the list. What else is going to be on that list? Ashu is going to be here to tell us why we are witnessing such trends. Of course, there's still lots more. We have a host of people to explain a couple of things, including, of course, Dr. Fru is here. We'll be asking him, what's the future for traditional medicine in Cameroon and across Africa at large, especially with the increase in the production of cheap generic drugs, which means a lot of people can afford them. I think it's time for us to take a break because it is the weekend. And during weekends, there are various parties. My daughter actually has her birthday this weekend. And at such parties, watch out the people you line up for food, right? Because sometimes it can turn really sour. In the following excerpt, watch clearly and closely. This guy is called Pa James. Somebody wants to pack a plate like that. He says, if I don't take a bowl, I'll probably not eat enough. Let's laugh a bit, and when we come back, we'll be getting a lot more serious.